Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk about support items and what you should be buying on the different supports. Someone wanted me to make a video about it, so yeah, I decided to do it. I thought it was a pretty good idea. So the first set of champions we're going to talk about is Alistar, Blitzcrank, Leona, and Taric. So for starting items for pretty much everyone is exactly the same, because I think this is the best items to start with. So I start with 3 health potions, 3 sight wards, vision ward, mana pot, and the warding trinket. And you might be wondering why I start with the warding trinket when I already start with 3 sight wards. And the reason is that I like to put down wards at level 1. So I usually put down at least one in the level 1, sometimes 2. I'll put them at like the enemy wraiths and then the like the old banana brush area, which is, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like the area by blue and mid. I'll usually put one like there, basically the opposite side of mid from wraiths, like one there and then one at wraiths. So I only have 1 ward for lane, plus a vision ward, plus my totem. And like those level 1 wards usually place them around a minute or so they'll run out at 4 minutes, and by then you'll probably still be in lane. So you can place like another ward after they run out at 4 minutes, and you won't be wasting wards or anything. The reason why I don't like to start with any of the gold items is because you don't get to start with a ward. I mean, you can, but then you can only start with 1 health potion, which is really bad, because then you have no sustain. So I don't like to start with them. In solo queue, you can, if you want. If you want to be risky, you can start with a gold item and start with 3 health potions. I don't like doing it because you have no bush control, and you don't help out your team with level 1 vision, a lot of other things. It just doesn't seem worth it to me. Also, I should mention I don't run utility on any of my supports, so all these starting items are without the extra gold. So if you are running utility for whatever reason, then you can start with like an extra health potion, or like take away a health potion or mana potion and start with another ward if you really want to. Actually, I think you can only hold 3. Yeah, you can, wait. Yeah, you can only hold 3 of these in inventory at any one time, so you basically just be buying an extra health potion. Anyway, moving on to core items. I don't like taking Targans or whatever the hell, the Relic Shield, Targan, and what is it, Torgan? What the hell is it called? Oh, Emblem. Oh, they changed the name. Did they? Oh, either way, I don't like taking this item because, for one, it's really hard to actually last hit when you're playing these champions like Leona, Blitzcrank, Alistar, and Taric, because they're all melee, and you're usually going to be like getting zoned a bit from CS, especially when you're playing something like Alistar or Blitz. So going up to CS, you're going to take 2 free auto attacks from the other ranged, unless you're playing against a melee. You're basically going to take 2 ranged auto attacks plus maybe 2 more abilities also, just to get 1 last hit for your little item here. So not really worth it. The stats on it are nice, but it does also suck pretty hard in the late game. Like 25 health regen means pretty much nothing in the late game. The active or passive or whatever on it starts going, or the passive on it starts diminishing, and there's no passive gold generation on the item like GP10. And while the health and CDR is nice, the active really falls off in the late game and starts mattering a lot less than something like Shrelia's, which is called Talisman of Ascension now, but I'm going to call it Shrelia's forever. Anyway, the reason why I like this item is because the active is always useful at all times in the game, and you're playing all 4 of these champions are melee supports, melee support engagers, especially champions like Alistar and Leona. So the active is really nice on them, and the 20% CDR is really, really, really nice on Alistar especially, and in combination with Glacial Shroud, Talisman, you have 30% CDR, and I also run 5% CDR on my runes personally, so that puts me at almost CDR cap, which is really nice on Alistar and Blitz, and it's pretty good on Taric and Leona as well, but this is mainly good for Alistar and Blitz. You can skip this Glacial Shroud on Taric and Leona if you want, and just go straight into something like a Randuin's. I do pick up Sightstone before, sometimes I pick it up before I finish this, Shrelia's, but I really like to finish Shrelia's before I pick up my Sightstone, just because Shrelia's creates so many opportunities, and you don't really need Sightstone early on a melee because they already have a lot of health naturally, especially like Alistar and Leona and Taric. Blitz is a bit squishier, but the other three are really tanky just by base stats and their abilities. I really like getting mobility boots because they're all really good roamers, and I like the flash enchant on all of them except Blitz is pretty questionable, but on Alistar especially, the flash enchant is amazing. And after all this, usually after I get my Sightstone, I'll pick up the normal Oracle's Lens, and then after all of these items, I'll actually upgrade it into the Oracle's version. And then these are just your defensive options versus physical damage and magical damage. Pretty standard stuff. I normally don't pick up a locket on supports anymore. I probably should, to be honest, but I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like it's not really that great of an item anymore. But it is really good against magic damage teams, which is why it's listed as first under magic damage. If the enemy team has a lot of magic damage, it's definitely a really good pickup, but if they only have like 1 AP mid and that's it, then it's not really meh. It's just a meh item. Better to pick up something like Randuin's or Frozen Heart. Anyway, that's it for those champions. Again, the champions for this are Alistar, Blitzcrank, Leona, and Taric. So moving on to the next set of champions, this is my Annie page, which I also use for cast support, Fiddle, LeBlanc, Vigor, and Zyra. Now the actual items here are going to be a bit different. Same starting items as before, I don't have to explain that again, but the core items here, usually pick up Sightstone before my Fiendish Codex just because the range supports have a lot less HP, so the extra 180 health really helps when you're playing against champions that will burst you, or just in general because you don't want to die in a stun or something before you can get your combo off. I like to pick up my distortion boots really early because on Annie especially, it's not as necessary on the other champions here that are listed. It's good on Cassiopeia and Fiddle. The others not really, but on Annie especially, you really want to get these early. 25% reduced flash cooldown is like ridiculously overpowered. I don't know why no one abuses it. The only other person that I've seen in competitive play that uses this or buys them really early is Edward, which yeah, as you all saw, IEM, he's a really good support player and especially good Annie player. So yeah, I just think it's really strong to buy these early because you can just make so many plays with flash on Annie and really carry your team. I prefer DFG. Well, let me talk about the difference between mobilities and source first. Usually I pick up mobilities. Sorcerer's Shoes is a bit more greedy build to get a little bit more extra damage, but it's not as much roam potential. And I prefer to play a very roam heavy support that roams around and makes plays, so I usually prefer to pick up mobility boots. After that, I like to pick up my DFG, which DFG is good for champions like Vigor, Annie, LeBlanc. What others? I think those are the only 3 actually. Yeah, those are the only 3 that I buy DFG on. On the others, you want to pick up something like transition this Fiendish Codex into like Morello Nomicon to get some extra CDR, and that allows you to make more plays. Or if you're playing Zyra, you want to go straight for Leandries because Leandries has really good synergy. And if you're playing Fiddle, then you want to go for an Hourglass early. Either an Hourglass or a Morello Nomicon, depending on what you want. CDR is really, really strong on Fiddle, so early Morello Nomicon is also really good. I usually prefer to go for an Hourglass, though, because that just allows you to make more plays in team fights and allows you to get your damage off easier with your ultimate. And then, same as before, I upgrade my Oracle's Lens at the end, while taking Oracle's Lens somewhere, usually somewhere near, pretty much after I finish Sightstone, I buy the Sweeper item. So that's typically when you want to buy it. Because at that point, you can now place 3 wards down at a time with the normal Sightstone. So there's really no reason to have the ward trinket as well. Endgame offensive items, pretty standard. Deathcap gives you the most bang for your buck, and Void Staff is good against MR. And endgame defensive items, Riley's is good for the health, Banshees is good against magic damage, and things like Nidalee or Ashe or Morgana, Lux, things that will catch you out. Banshee's Veil is good. Abyssal is good if you have an AP heavy team and you want to defend against magic damage. And it's also generally just a good magic penetration item in general. Zonia's is also good against burst like Zed, Lux, Morgana, anything really. And QSS is good against things like Ashe, Thresh, anything that will catch you out and pretty much ruin the game if you die. Like if Thresh hooks you, then and you get caught out and die, don't get your combo off, then you might just lose a game from that. So QSS can be helpful. Also, one thing I didn't mention is Haunting Guise. Haunting Guise is good if you're ahead early and you just want to get some really fast pen. You can go for something like Haunting Guise, Sork Shoes, and get a lot of pen, and then build into an Abyssal Scepter if you really want to and you have a lot of pen damage. I usually don't buy Haunting Guise, but it is a nice extra boost of health if that's what you're going for, and if they have a lot of tanky champions on the other team, health-wise, then upgrading into Leandries can also be good. I typically don't buy any of these gold items on these AP supports, simply because Shrelius isn't really good on them, and Face of the Mountain is definitely not good on them, and the active on Frost Queens, I used to think it was really good, but now I'm like, meh. It's decent, but it's not as good as just buying a Death Cap or a Void Staff or something. Those items are much more cost efficient for the amount of AP you get. 50 AP is worth about 1,000 gold, I think. Roughly somewhere around there. I have it open right here. Yeah, about 1.1k gold. So, and you're paying 2,000 for it. You see that it's not even cost efficient without the active on it, so it's pretty meh. What I do like to do sometimes is I'll buy the Spell Thief's Blade because this is cost efficient, and I'll buy the I'll upgrade to the Frost Fang, which is also cost efficient. But I don't ever upgrade it into Frost Queen's Claim because it's just not cost efficient and the active isn't good enough. But I will end up selling this Frost Fang in the late game. The games I do go it. Basically, what determines whether or not I go it is if I back with like 475 gold. I don't want to just buy a health crystal because then I'm left with no wards. So I'll buy something like the first item from this, the Spell Thief's Edge, and a ward and a pot or something, instead of just having no wards, because that's really just spelling death right there. Anyway, again, these are for Annie, Cass, Fiddle, LeBlanc, Veigar, and Zyra. Moving on to the next champions, Janna, Lulu, Nami, Sona, and Soraka. These champions are, I feel, pretty weak right now, with the exception of maybe Nami. The rest of them feel really weak to me, and I don't really see a point in playing them currently. Lulu is getting a buff. I don't know about the others. But anyway, same starting items, except I take one extra mana pot instead of a health pot because I have healing abilities. On Lulu, I actually don't take any mana pots at all because she doesn't need it, and it's better to take health pots so you can harass more. Other than that, just standard, same thing as the others. Core items, you want to get the Sight Stone to get tanky early on, and you want to build into the Shrelias for the CDR, and you want to complement that with the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, which gives you 40% CDR with the 5% CDR from the offensive tree. So 40% CDR really fast is really nice, and then of course you want to upgrade to this for the same reasons as before. Your endgame options, pretty much you just want to build as much AP as you can, because that's the only way that you're ever going to reach the same potential that these champions had before the patch. You're forced into buying a lot of AP, or else you're just going to be useless late game. Like all your spells will do nothing, and yeah, it's well, that's just how it is now. So the best way to do that is just buy a Death Cap. Death Cap is the most bang for your buck in terms of ability power, so you want to pick that up and then pick up other high ability power items like Zhonya's or Void Staff. Void Staff not so much, but it is nice for like Sona. Sona does a lot of damage with their ultimate over, say if you hit like 4 people, it's good to make it do more damage. But I like picking up Death Cap and Zhonya's, and Rylai's are all good. These are like my 3 items that I'll go for. Rylai's offers some utility. Not so great on someone like Nami, but the health is still good. Helps you survive. And some other items are just these right here. Banshees and QSS for the same reasons I talked about before, along with Abyssal Scepter, and Leanders can be good against high health targets. Lichbane is good on like Sona alone. Can be good on Lulu as well. Those are really the only champions. It's also good on Janna, but more so for like tower pushing and stuff like that. It's a situationally good item. Usually you won't pick it up though. So again, this is for Janna, Lulu, Nami, Sona, Soraka, and that's it. The next champions I'm talk about are Leona, Taric, and Thresh. So I already talked about Taric and Leona earlier, but this is a different build that I use on them some games. I don't start with any mana pots because these champions generally don't need it, and the only difference really is that I go for the Face of the Mountain item instead of Shrelia's. Basically, if our team already has enough engaged to where I feel like we don't need Shrelia's, and also if I'm laning against a melee support where I feel like I can actually last hit freely, or if I'm laning with a lane dominant AD carry like Caitlyn who will allow me to last hit easily, then I like to take Emblem of Valor and upgrade it into the Face of the Mountain. Face of the Mountain really gives you a lot of outplay potential. I played a game the other day as Leona, and I had like a really lot of close calls with Face of the Mountain, and we ended up getting a lot of kills that we shouldn't have gotten just because I had that item and used it well. So that's a good item to pick up early in certain situations. Generally, I don't like going for it, but it can be good on Leona and Taric in some situations. On Thresh, I feel like you almost always want to get it because he can last hit really easily, so you end up using the passive really well. And you generally just want to be tanky as possible on Thresh to stack with your passive just to get more effective health. Then I usually build into a Locket just because this is like more of a tanky, supporty page than the Alistar setup is. So I usually like to pick up Locket when I'm doing this, and I always pick up mobility boots to roam better. The enchant doesn't really matter on Thresh. Like flashing isn't really that influential on Thresh. Not really that influential on Taric or Leona either. So you generally just want to keep it until you have to buy home guards. But other than that, you can just leave it at normal mobility boots. And same thing with Oracle Suns. buy the Oracle sometime after Sightstone, and then upgrade it into the Oracle's Lens after you finish these items. Maybe even after you pick up mobility boots, like here. That's probably actually better. Then versus physical damage, you want to pick up Randuin's. Usually Randuin's, that's the best source of effective health, maybe in the game, to be honest. It gives a lot of health and also gives armor. So the health helps you against magic damage as well, but it also gives you a lot of effective health in combination with the armor on the item. In addition to the Warden's Mill passive, obviously. And the active is really nice on these champions because all of them want to get right into the middle of everything, so the active really helps on Randuin's. Frozen Heart is good if you're playing against something like two heavy auto attackers, like a Jax top lane and a Vayne bottom or something, or just a Jax top lane plus any AD carry bottom. Frozen Heart is going to be really useful. Sunfire is good if you want some extra damage in addition to some survivability. Iceborne Gauntlet is pretty meh, but it can be good if you're switching to a peeling role instead. Like a Taric or Leona or Thresh can kind of just... It's pretty bad on Thresh, but on Taric and Leona... you can kind of just sit in the back on your AD carry, use your stun or use your ability, slow them, wait a few seconds, use another ability, slow them again, and you can just keep peeling for AD carry really well with Iceborne Gauntlet. It's extremely situational, but it can be good. Most people just buy this on Taric every single game, which I don't agree with, but yeah, that's kind of the flavor of the month, I guess. And then versus magic damage, this is just standard stuff. Generally, you want to pick up Spirit Visage instead of Banshee's Veil, unless you're playing against something that you're afraid of getting caught out against, like a Thresh, Lux, Morgana. Those kind of things that will catch you out. Ashe. And Mikhail's Crucible is, it's pretty good on, again, if you're playing if you're switching into a peeling role, or if you're playing against any of those champions that will catch you out. Mikhail's is a lot cheaper now. It's still a 3-minute cooldown, which is pretty terrible, but it can be good situationally. So again, these are for Taric, Thresh, and Leona. And remember that Taric and Leona also have this Alistar page to follow as well. Wait, yeah. Anyway, those are all the champions that I could think to talk about. So if you think I missed any champions, just put a comment in the comment section below, and I'll, I guess, kind of just tell you what I think about those champions, or why I didn't include them in these lists. So, yeah, let's end this video. Hope this helped you all, and yeah, I'll see you all next time. And if you have any suggestions on what videos to make, put them in the comment section below, and I will consider them. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.